Sisters podcast. This is Ada, and I have a special guest here today. She wants to go by the name of Nancy, and I'll let her tell you why she chose Nancy, and I think it's a great reason to go by this name. Go ahead.
Because I think Nancy Rigdon is a badass.
Yeah.
She has my total admiration.
Yeah,
so.
she rejected Joseph's his advances. Yeah, him trying to marry her when she was 18, 19 or something. So this is my good friend. She reached out to me. Has it been like a month? It's been almost 2 months ago, probably. And we went to lunch a little while ago and spent how long did we?
4 hours.
4 hours. Yeah. This poor little restaurant. They could not get rid of us. We just took up residence.
Fun, though.
It was so fun. I seriously, and after that lunch, I was like, I just couldn't stop thinking about you. I was like, she's the best. She's just pretty much the best.
You're awesome.
We were meant to be friends. So I'm so excited to have you here today and tell your story. I have to tell you one little thing. So when you first emailed me, and you told me a little bit about yourself and that you're a grandma, but you're a young grandma. But I made a note of that, like you were a grandma, and then you used the word fuck in your email. And I was like,
you said it.
I was like, okay, I know I love her because she's a grandma saying the word fuck. It's just the best thing ever. I don't know why, but that just endeared me to you so much. But I should say again, you're a very young grandma. She's not that much older than me. I could be a grandma too.
I'm
but
pretty old. But
for some reason, just saying grandma, what is that? But yes, the fact that you said the F word just cracked me up. And I was like, we have to be friends. So,
yes.
So I will let you kind of introduce yourself and start wherever you want to start with your journey, your story, whatever.
Okay. I was raised in a very Orthodox Mormon family.
Yeah.
Probably not the... I talk about my mom who pretty much run the house, but she didn't have a lot of follow through. So our best family home meetings were the ones where we planned the family home meetings for the year, and then they kind of throughout the year they just kind of dwindled off. Yes. But they were truly believing members, and they tried to do everything that they were supposed to do. Grew up with a lot of guilt. My mom is the master of guilt.
Oh yeah. The guilt trip, the mother guilt trip.
Yeah,
yes.
That's how she learned to control her kids, basically.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, I grew up with a lot of that.
And where did you fall in your family in terms of birth order?
I'm third.
You're third of?
7.
7, okay.
And they were spread out over 3 different decades. So there were 3 of us in the 60s, 2 in the 70s, and 2 in the 80s.
So you were all kind of far apart.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And that's kind of unique. I don't know. My family, 9 kids in 16 years. So,
wow. Yeah. That's kind of the norm.
Yeah.
Every other year.
Yeah.
Nurse them for 2 years, then have another one. Yeah. Isn't that it?
Yes, totally.
Anyway, so basically your normal Mormon upbringing, except for in my teenage years, I rebelled. I went through a phase where I purposely would wear things to make people talk.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you kind of crave some attention, sort of?
I think it was more along the lines as I identified the hypocrisy and could not stand it. I mean, there was a lady in our ward who... Her son was constantly hitting on me, asking me out. She was always on my mom for allowing me to date before 16, but it was her son that was asking me out. Yeah. And so, anyway, I never went out with him because he was gross.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, isn't it crazy that she would even have an opinion about when you're dating? What a nosy...
Yeah, but when you grow up in it, because I grew up in a very small community, there was no separation between church and community. It was all just blended in together, and so you were everybody's business.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So
okay.
So I would purposely wear really short cut, high cut dresses and stuff.
Yeah.
To make people talk. I had a pair of zipper pants.
Oh.
Do you know what they are?
No.
So instead of a crotch seam, it's a zipper that goes all the way around.
The zipper just goes all the way to the back.
Yeah.
Oh, I have heard of
and
those.
That was scandalous.
That is scandalous.
Yeah. So anyway, so I would purposely do that, and then one of my very good friends was gay, and so
and this was in the 60s. Well,
no, I mean, it would have been late 70s.
Yeah, you were a teenager or whatever. Yeah, so 70s. Yeah. Interesting. So they were openly gay.
He was, yeah. Interesting. I mean, I don't even think he was sexually active, but he was. Right. He was,
but he knew he was attracted to men.
They called him effeminate.
Yes, effeminate. Yeah.
So, anyway, but very attracted to men. We were both attracted to the same.
You guys would talk about your crushes together and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would wear my clothes. Oh, and he looked better in them than me. That used to make me so mad. No. Anyway, yeah, we bought the same shoes. We bought the same pair of shoes. And,
that's a really unique experience in the 70s.
He was awesome.
Was he terribly, I would shunned in the community?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
abused. And
that breaks my
heart.
That
was another thing in my teenagehood that was just kind of out of the norm. And
and you saw him as being a good human. Oh, he was a beautiful person.
I mean, he knew before you did if you needed a hug. He was just that intuitive. Yeah, to people's needs. And
so it was like when you would get taught negative things about gay people from the church, you knew that was bullshit.
I did.
Like, this is not true. Okay,
I did. So my shelf items started very, very young because if you think of Christ-like behavior, his behavior, even though he was tons of fun, but his behavior was better than most of the people judging me at church.
And you could see that.
Oh yeah, it was very evident.
Yeah.
But
how did your mom feel about you hanging out with him?
She really didn't mind that much.
Good.
He was, I don't know, she didn't say much about that.
Yeah.
But to say he was gay, nobody even... That wasn't a word. They just didn't use that word.
Oh, really?
He was just a feminine.
Oh, interesting. Guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so as far as sexual behavior, I didn't even think of that. He was just tons of fun.
Yeah.
So we'd go shopping. He's never been south, but he would pick up this southern accent when he was about to tell me that looks like crap.
Oh, yeah.
Darling, I hate to hurt your feelings, but
bless your heart.
I knew, just go right back into the dressing room.
Oh, I love that he could tell you the truth.
Oh, he was awesome.
See, I needed a gay best friend. I really did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
They're wonderful. He was just an awesome guy. So, and would have been if he was straight. He was just, you know what I mean? Just an awesome guy. Yeah. So, anyway.
And so you were rebelling kind of against the status quo a little bit. Did your mom freak out about the things you were wearing?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she dragged me out of a basketball game once because I was wearing the leather pants.
Oh, good.
And made me change.
Go home and change.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof. So, anyway.
Yeah. So you kind of describe your mom as being more of the, what's the word?
Domineering?
Maybe domineering, but I guess what I mean is like the rule setter, and she laid down the hammer about what to do more than your dad. But you grew up with your dad, right? They were married?
Oh yeah, they were married.
But she was definitely more the in charge person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how my family was too.
Yeah, and even if there was an argument, she used guilt on him as well.
Oh, good, yeah.
And so, anyway, she's just a master of that. And I love her. She's still living. And I love her to pieces, but I've learned not to let the guilt get to me.
I totally know.
I wish we could repair our relationship at this point, but, there's some things I'd like to work on. But
yeah, it's hard. Because, and I have the same kind of conflict of I love my mom, but there's things that were not okay and still that are not okay, and that I still have to work through. So it's not simple, I guess.
Yeah. My mom today is, if we get into a discussion about something, as long as she has talking points, as long as she can hold her own in the argument, then things are fine. But if not, she turns on me personally. Does that make sense?
Attack. Yeah. Because then it's just, I can only get defensive in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Which is ironic.
That's her favorite saying. I know,
very
right?
ironic. Let's talk about that Kool-Aid, Mom.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, but I love her, and I know where she's at. I'm to a point now where I can just say everybody is where they need to be. You know what I mean? And my mom, I mean, she's up there in years, and to accept the fact that the church isn't true, it would just. I think it's too late.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Anyway, same with my mom. Yeah.
Because in all honesty, as I was growing up, I noticed there were some things that really bothered her about the church, the patriarchy, because she is, I mean, I think I told you before, if she was born in a different place, she would probably be one of those bra-burning feminists in the 60s.
Yeah.
She was that, you know.
Yeah.
She
was a strong, powerful, independent woman.
Yeah. And I think that's why she is so frustrated now, is because she never was able to express who she really was. And so I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
For sure.
Yeah. So anyway, I got married very, very young.
Okay.
And after that, and I got pregnant within a year and a half after we got married.
Okay.
And it started to scare me. Parenthood scared me to the point where I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, well, nobody knows. It's just thrown on you.
If I'm not in that church culture, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to parent, because that's the only parenting I saw.
Right.
You know, and that's the only parenting I knew. And so...
And can I back up just 1 second? So, you got married very young. Did you get married in the temple?
No.
Okay. So was that a whole thing? I mean, maybe not necessarily. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know how many times my mom would say, you know, you guys could hurry and get ready. You could hurry and get ready. Well, we were having sex.
Yeah.
So it's like, Mom, we're not going to get ready. We're not going to get ready. And so
that was probably like a disappointment, and you felt
big
that.
Time. Yeah. Not only that, but my older brother had basically started drinking and fallen away from the church by then. And so she's, that's another thing she goes through this. I'm a failure. Empty table. I'm going to have an empty table at heaven. I just feel, that I'm on this side, I would like to wrap my arms around her and say, Mom, it's okay. It's, you know, but she won't listen to any.
Yeah. She's been taught her whole life that it's her responsibility, first of all, to get all of you guys to heaven, and then also that it's very like black and white thinking,
right? Of
like, if you guys make a mistake, it's my fault, and I'm gonna be left alone in heaven, whatever, blah blah blah. I think my mom has come a long ways in terms of that, and she doesn't believe that anymore, but she used to very much, and feel just a lot of pain and suffering about that. Yeah. But it's because that's what the church taught them to feel.
Yeah. And how crazy is that, to set someone up to be responsible for someone else's behavior when you have no control?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a recipe for disaster.
Believe you do have control, which is so bad.
Yeah. It's cruel, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I think that's
well, and it's very codependent. And the church wants you to be codependent in all your relationships.
Right.
Parent, child, spousal relationships. Yeah. It's just...
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so as I was expecting our first child, and so we got reactivated into the church, and so they actually they weren't missionaries, but they were guys in the ward who came and taught us the missionary lessons, because my husband had actually joined another church. He'd gone through the where you just accept Christ.
And, but he was originally Mormon. Okay, and
raised Mormon, but he was raised in a totally different family dynamic. His dad drank really heavily and was you know, and
so he joined a different church, and
I think he was just looking for something to fill a void.
And so how long would you guys have been inactive in the church? Just a few years or whatever? Before the missionary, or before the people in the ward came to teach you?
Yeah, just a few years.
Okay.
And then...
So they came and taught you discussions?
Yeah, we actually received
Like
the
new
missionary
member?
discussions.
Oh, the actual missionary discussions.
Yeah, they were returned missionaries from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so, but they taught us the missionary discussions, and we reactivated. Then we took the temple classes.
Oof, yeah.
Which
they call them temple prep.
No,
it does not prepare
There's no
you.
prep. There's no prep.
No prep.
Yeah. So we had been married about a year and a half. Our daughter was 1 month old when we went through the temple.
Okay.
And oh my gosh, I still have PTSD.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I just was not prepared for all the ritual stuff.
The chanting.
Yes, and the garbs that you wear.
Yeah, you go in there and you are not prepared to see what you see and to do what you do.
Yeah.
Right?
And not to mention the fact that just a year and a half earlier, we had been married, and I had made a point of telling the bishop who married us, I will not say obey. And I got that from Princess Diana, or at least what the magazine said the Princess Diana said. She didn't want to say obey. Anyway, and
that
so
you will promise to obey your husband.
Yeah. Anyway, supposedly she had said that, and I don't know whether she really did or not, or if I just read that. But anyway, and I thought that was cool, so I had told him I will not say obey.
Okay.
And so it wasn't in our vows, our original vows. And then I get to the temple. I mean, this is pre-1990. And so there it is. And not only that, but all of the death oath. Oh my gosh, I was sick to my stomach. The deer in the headlight look was not mine. That was my mother's, who was trying to keep me in my seat. Yeah. She was my guardian, what do you call it? Escort. Yeah, she was my escort. And I seriously just wanted to leave. I'm very sensitive to animals. And I don't know why I thought it, but I thought, if they even so much as bring a dove out from that curtain, I am leaving.
So as you're sitting in the temple, you actually had the thought that we might start sacrificing an animal.
Yes.
Oh my
God. It
God.
occurred to me because it was so foreign to what
that never occurred to me.
We have nothing like that in our sacrament meetings.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And then all this clothing and stuff that just didn't fit. And
I remember thinking,
like,
this is not the church I was raised in.
No.
This is not the same church. I don't know what is happening right now.
Yes, that's my thoughts exactly. Yeah. And so I was afraid of that. I mean, in the back of my mind, that shows you how young and stupid I was, I guess. But I kept looking at the altar and thinking, no, that's too white.
They were going to sacrifice
It's too white.
I'm so glad that did not occur to me, because I'm very attached to animals too. I would have had a very hard time even having that thought cross my mind. Thank God.
It was just awful. And then I told you before how claustrophobic I am. I mean, severely claustrophobic. I had a traumatic experience as a child, but. And so when they made us veil our faces and the air, my breath started coming back on me, I was like panicking.
Starting to like hyperventilate a little bit.
It was awful. It was awful. And the washing and anointing thing. So my baby was only a month old.
Yeah. Oh God.
Okay.
You were breastfeeding. That's what totally just came to my mind.
Yes,
oh shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if there are any men listening, I'm sorry. But no. I mean, you have nothing on but a shield. I hadn't nursed my baby in almost 3 hours.
Oh no!
And
did you just let down?
Oh, yes, God. And I'm just like, this is awful. You may want to edit this part. No, I don't know, but it was just
so
terrible.
Humiliating for a young girl.
Yes, and I was squeamish about him touching me, and it was a terrible experience. Yeah. And then I was overwhelmed by the verbiage they were using. Like I was very keenly aware of the verbiage, like to your husband and priestess to your husband, and you know what I mean, where he was saying to God. I was making all of my covenants to him. And I think that part's changed too.
I think it has.
Anyway, but yeah.
Like you are giving yourself to him and he just has to receive you, right? Or something like that.
And polygamy had always bothered me. I did not know at the time that Joseph Smith had practiced it, but it bothered me.
You knew it was a thing.
Yeah, I knew it was a thing. And so I identified right away in the ceremony that this is about his godhood, not mine. And I am just being given to him. And I'm only 18.
As property.
Yeah, as property.
Oh, you were only 18?
I was 18.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So at that moment, and this just makes me sick that I did this, but and then in the sealing also, it come up too, because the sealing says something to the effect that you give yourself to him, but he doesn't have to say that.
No.
His is just receive you. And I picked up on that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I've talked to many people that are like, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
But I picked up on it, and I knew at that moment that I was just a number. And so I made, my daughter asked me the other day, so you subconsciously did that? And there was no subconscious about it. I made a mental decision. I would not give myself 100% to him. I'm not going to get him 100%. I'm not going to give myself my 100% to him either. And it's almost like a guarded, like a protection that I put up.
Yeah.
I mean, we hadn't been married 2 years.
So when they tell you to bow your head and say yes, you're like, yes, but really no. Is that what you were?
No, I was like, oh, yes, but I was not going to throughout this life.
Yeah.
I just looked at, I'm like, okay, well, my children can never replace me. Right. But he can eventually just make me a number. And so I gave a lot more of myself emotionally, even time, to my kids and my grandkids. This carried on for the second generation.
Yeah, so almost in a way, it put a wedge between you and your husband.
Oh, absolutely.
And did you feel like kind of some resentment towards him, even though it wasn't his fault?
It wasn't his fault, and he didn't realize that. Yeah. I've asked him, like, since then, did you realize what they were saying? Did you realize what I had to say? It didn't even dawn on him.
Yeah, he's just like, no, what's the big deal?
But it was almost like I started punishing him for an affair he hadn't had yet.
Wow. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I was very young, and it was young in our marriage, and I think about that wasted time now, and I get so mad.
Yeah.
I won't drop the F-bomb. I get so
you totally
mad.
I like it, you know.
Because it was like when we did leave the church, I'm not leave, but anyway, when I come to that conclusion, hey, this isn't real, it was almost like instantaneous that I dropped that. I didn't resent him anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's not going to be able to make me a number.
Yeah.
You know, and when I realized that part of the church at least was not true, our relationship, every part of our relationship, sex.
Yeah.
Was it, you know what I mean?
Got way better.
Yeah, everything just improved.
Because you didn't have that like barrier, that wall built up around you saying you're not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
Because that's like a coping mechanism of like protecting yourself.
It was definitely a protection. Ugh. It's like I am going to guard at least part of myself because you can make me a number. Just and I gave it all yucky. To my kids. I gave everything to my kids because in my mind it was like, well, they can never replace me, even if I die, you know. And he remarries, they can never replace me.
But he can.
He can. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder if that's a common,
I've
maybe
wondered
even
that too.
Subconscious. I don't know if it's always that conscious the way it was for you, but like, I feel like a lot of Mormon women, they just throw themselves into motherhood full force and they completely neglect that relationship with their husband, just knowing that like, well, I'm not that important to him.
It does. It makes me wonder how many women feel that way. Yeah. And I do know because I read Carolyn Pearson's book on polygamy. I can't remember the name of it. Ghost. It's got a ghost on it.
Yeah, something about circling the wagons. Right?
No, Ghost
of Eternal Polygamy. Yeah.
And I think, you know what? She was right. She is right. It is seriously a ghost that just is always in the back of Mormon women's mind.
Yep, it's a cloud looming over us
that they try not to acknowledge, that they think they don't have to face, but it's there.
That's what I totally did. I completely just tried not to ever acknowledge it. I legitimately thought, well, that just doesn't apply to me. It's not going to apply to me. I don't care. Like, I'm just not going to think about it. I'm not going to acknowledge it. I'm not going to recognize it as an actual thing. And I just buried it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of women do. Yeah. But for some reason, I was just aware of it. I was just like, and I noticed like I say, the verbiage almost leads you to that point.
Yeah. So freaky. So anyway, after that temple experience, did that make you never want to go back to the temple again? Yeah.
And I didn't for the longest time. It was probably 2 or 3 years. And it was when our temple recommends were expiring. And I went in because the bishop, I think we signed up. I can't remember, and the bishop said, "You just don't understand it."
Because you told him you didn't like the temple.
I told him how uncomfortable it made me, and I did not like this death oath things, and it just made me really uncomfortable.
He's like, "Oh, it's fine. That's gone now."
Well, it wasn't.
We got rid of that.
It wasn't then. God. You know, it was still. But he just told me, "You need to go more, and you will understand it, and then you'll become more comfortable with it." And I did. We did go back. And I got to where it didn't bother me, but now I look at that and I realize what I did. It was desensitizing. Yeah. I was removing myself from the situation every time we went, just so that I didn't have to.
Like brainwashing your own self.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, like doubt your doubts. Really? Who does that? Anyway.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's where.
Yeah, that temple experience.
We were. Yeah.
Experience.
So, yep. And then we went about raising our family, had 4 kids, and boom, boom, boom. We had 3 girls in 2.5 years. And
wow. Holy crap.
And that was because the religion tells you.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And then we had a break before we got our son. But anyway, it was so. But yeah, and just as we were married and raising kids, I was really busy. You know, just busy.
I'm sure.
But there were several things that just started adding to my shelf. The polygamy thing was always there. The LGBT thing.
LGBT.
Yeah, it just bothered me really, really bad because I had family members. Was it about 2008? All my kids were in school, I know.
Okay.
But that actually canvassed parts of California with Prop 8 and took literature out that was paid for by the church. You know what I mean? And that just really bothered me. Really. Yeah. And so I had to shelf all this because I had to say, well, they're a prophet and you know how you do.
Yeah,
you know?
and the LGBTQ thing was already on your shelf because of your best friend in high school, and then that just added to it, right?
Yeah, and then also in 91, I'll start to bawl. You have to edit it if I bawl.
No, I have to edit it if you bawl.
I don't know, but anyway, he died of AIDS. And he died completely alone. Anyway, and I did not have the courage, or I don't know what it was. I didn't even go see him.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's
so hard. That's one of those things that, because I know, like, when I left the church, and there are so many things that I feel shame about the way I treated people or about things I said or did. And that's part of this whole process, right? Of just like, I didn't know better, like giving yourself some grace about that and like not knowing how to deal with that situation, you know?
And I try and not beat myself up over it. But and it's like my daughter, she's always saying, when you know better, you do better, but I can't make it up to him.
Yeah, it's not something you can go back and fix. Yeah. You don't get a redo on it.
Right. And I can't do better for him.
Yeah.
And it just makes me so sad. I hope there's a heaven so he can eventually forgive me. You know what I mean? For it. But also, I can explain where I was at.
Yeah. Anyway. And I think he knows. I think he has to know.
I hope so.
And I was going to say, you do better the next time you're put in a situation like that, right?
Yeah.
The next time something like that happens, you're not going to let that.
Yeah.
You're not going to let that opportunity pass, right?
And my family knows.
And that's a big deal.
Yeah. My kids know. If I ever have, so far all of my kids are straight, but if I ever have a gay grandchild, that grandchild and their partner will be invited to Thanksgiving, and if you don't like it, you don't need to come.
Then you don't come.
Because I will never do that to ever again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anyway. That's how I feel. Not in my family. That's not going to be a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so that was the shelf item, and then 2015 just. I was so close to just leaving with the November policy.
Yeah.
I gotta stop crying.
No, it's okay. You can cry all you want.
Anyway.
It's okay to have feelings. You know me. I always have lots of feelings.
I was just thinking, you can't talk about him or you're gonna cry.
But I think it's so meaningful to share those things. I know some people really hate to cry in front of people, but I think it's really meaningful, and it helps other people to recognize the pain in real people's stories and what people have had to deal with, and that's pain that was inflicted because of the church.
Well, and then there were social things too. At the time, AIDS was not. You didn't know much about it. I mean, people were afraid of mosquitoes.
Oh, yeah. The AIDS epidemic turned into this whole fear-mongering thing. And the church, by the way, loved that.
Oh, I think so.
They fed off of that.
Because I remember one of the apostles, I can't remember who it was, talking about how it was the curse of the something, the latter days or something. I can't remember how exactly how it was worded, but
it's like, well, they're gay and they're getting their payback for sinning or whatever. Which is such bullshit.
It is such bullshit. But anyway, so but I used that as an excuse. I seriously did. It was like I did not have the courage to go see him. That's the honest to gosh truth.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the the health problems that could be, it wasn't that. I didn't have the courage to stand up to go see him. But anyway,
so heartbreaking.
So moving on. so these shelf items just kept building, and the patriarchy thing and the polygamy thing and the gay issue, and it just was. The shelf just kept talk about the heavy. Proverbial shelf, and it was.
I think those are the three main things that are on everyone's shelf when they leave. Like they're like the foundational items on the shelf for almost everybody. Yeah. I mean, almost everybody I talk to, it's like polygamy, LGBTQ issues. It's
because it's so wrong.
It's
you can
so
see
wrong.
how wrong that is, and how anti-Christian. Do you know what I mean? If there's anything that teaches that is against Christ's teachings, that just bothered me, and I just could see the.
So that was back in 91. You had young kids. You were in the throes of motherhood and newly endowed member and getting back to church and all that stuff. Okay.
And calling after calling after calling.
Yeah.
I mean, I had 3 little kids, and I was put in one calling after another and not given a break, and but I didn't feel like I could say no. You don't say no.
You don't say no.
And so I look back on that time and I think, how in the world, not to mention the fact that I feel like I had to do PTA and I had to do, all these other things.
You have to be super mom.
Yeah, super mom. Yeah.
So all the pressures. Were you a stay-at-home mom at this time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I was
but there was all this pressure to be perfect, to do everything, to be a part of everything, and to never say no, of course.
And this stay-at-home mom was kind of a blessing and then not a blessing. I hate to use that word anymore, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's like, on one note, it was nice to not have to divide myself.
Yeah.
But on the second note, it's kind of like the frosted mini wheat, the whole wheat side and the frosting side, but it was no identity, No,
yes.
no,
Outside
whatsoever.
of motherhood.
I had no money, no friends. I mean,
no
I had
social life.
no social life, whatsoever, unless they had children, and then we were all busy watching their kids,
each other's kids, and at church, and
and so that was really hard, and so that kind of leads me to in 2009, I had gone back to school and finished my degree.
Okay.
And we had some, this is moving way forward. Our oldest was married, and anyway, and we had 2 in college, and anyway.
Yeah, so your kids are kind of grown now, and you go back to school to get a degree.
I finished my degree.
Okay.
And then I tried to start my career, and we had a family situation that was just so much stress.
Yeah.
So with one of our grandsons, and the career part was just falling apart because I just couldn't balance everything.
Yeah.
And I felt like I'd let everybody down, and I started having what they diagnosed as panic attacks.
Okay.
And they were panic attacks. I mean, they were seriously panic attacks. I would be standing at work and just couldn't move my legs. I remember the feeling, I have to go to the bathroom, but I couldn't move my legs to go.
Yeah,
and
like paralyzed.
Yes, paralysis.
Yeah.
And not just my limbs, but my eyes, and my heart felt like it was beating out of my chest, and just really, like extreme thirst, and I mean they were. And
you're probably scared.
Oh,
when this is happening to you,
extremely.
You think, am I dying right now?
Well, and I come from a family with heart problems, so it's like that's what I'm thinking. So anyway, I go to the doctor, and he prescribes it's called the Ativan.
Okay.
And it's an anti-anxiety. Okay. Nobody told me it was addicting.
So is it one of those kind of like Xanax where you take it when you're having a panic attack and it's a quick release, or it's one of those daily dose?
Yeah, it's a daily dose thing, but you're supposed to take it at a certain time.
Okay.
And
you were never told it was addictive, which I didn't know. I don't know anything about Ativan, but okay.
And there's still very little information on how addicting it is, but anyway, and so I was getting to the point where I would be watching my watch. Was it time to take that pill? Just you know what I mean, and not having enough pills. And I went in because you have to take it with an antidepressant, and the antidepressant was causing some side effects. So I went back into the doctor, and he prescribed, actually it was the she that time, it was a female doctor, but anyway, she prescribed a different antidepressant. Okay. But at the same time, she rewrote the Ativan.
So I
now had 2 prescriptions.
Oof.
And I was working 2 different pharmacies. Or not working, but I was using 2 different pharmacies. And I knew I was in trouble. Yeah. It was become... I was taking so many. I look back on that now, and I'm surprised I'm still alive. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, but it dulled everything. Yeah. That's the thing is it's like it took away the anxiety, but it took away everything else. I didn't feel pleasure. I didn't feel happiness. I was just like, I could have been hit by a Mack truck and not even cared.
Yeah, like you're just kind of a zombie going on in your life, but it made you zombie, a good description. But it made you able to like do all the things you had to do. Mm-hmm. So you're like, hey, this is a good thing, even though I'm a zombie. I'm doing my work, or I'm doing my
feeling.
Plugging along.
It was kind of amazing. Yeah, it was. But it scares me to think because after I got off of it, this is pushing ahead a little bit, but after I got off of it, I went, and you know how you put your summer clothes away and get out your winter clothes? Well, I got out the clothes for the season, and from the year previous, I was now off it, and looked in there, thousands of dollars of clothes. I do not remember purchasing. Some of them
that you bought and never had worn even?
I hope I paid for them. That is how I've never been known to shoplift before, but I cannot account for that.
Interesting.
That 8 months.
So you were so zombie-like. You almost have no memories of that time.
Yeah,
like,
and there were clothes that I hadn't even taken the tags off of.
Yeah.
You know, and we're talking thousands.
It's like that experience I'm sure you've had before where like, and this has happened to me where I'm like driving and I get home and I have no memory of that drive.
That's exactly.
I'm like, where have I been the last 15 minutes? Like, I don't even know how I ended up here. Yeah.
Except for
it's like this weird, almost like a trance state or something.
Yeah. That's exactly the way it was. But it wasn't for a drive. This was 8 months.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember family gatherings.
Dissociating.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I hope I never killed someone.
Oh my God. I hope not too.
I'm pretty sure I'd remember that.
If you ever find a body in your freezer and you're like, oh shit, did that happen?
Yeah. Anyway.
I'll help you take care of it, okay?
That's like I say, I hope I paid for the clothes. If not, I am sorry.
That's what drugs will do to you.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like, I feel like they're so irresponsibly prescribed. And when people don't know what the effects are, or they don't know that they're going down a path that's really dangerous until it's kind of too late and they're already addicted, they're already stuck to that. And it's like you feel desperate because that's all you know is how to like numb it.
Yeah.
So I think this is so prevalent in Mormon women.
Well, okay, so in the place I was working, after I started coming off it, I was very vocal about what had happened to me.
Oh, really?
And you would not believe how many women come into me and said, thank you. I was on it too.
Really?
It was.
Okay, so you did not, how did you get past that stage of shame? If you mind me asking. Like, because there's a lot of shame wrapped up in this cycle. In addiction, people hide it. They want to pretend like everything's fine, and they don't talk about it. So how did you get past that? Or did you not feel that shame? Oh, okay.
And so by now I was seeing a different doctor, and he actually, that makes me mad too, because when I was trying to get off it, I went into him because it causes you to just have...
You're like shaking.
Oh.
It's withdrawals.
It feels like worms are crawling up your skin. Oh. It's just awful. Your face is itching all the time. Anyway, and so I went in to see if he could help me, you know, with the side effects of coming off it, and he wanted me to go back on it.
What?
I was like almost to half dose by then. And he wanted me to go back on it.
And so did you?
No.
So what made you say no to the doctor? What made you have the strength to do that? Because that's really difficult.
Because I got caught. My
By
husband
who? Your husband.
Out.
Okay, so your husband was really the driving force behind you getting off of it and getting clean.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and you knew you couldn't start back on it and hide it from him.
And
you didn't want to.
I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I did not want to. I knew it was a problem because, I mean, I knew it was going to kill me if I didn't get off it. And I loved my family, you know. I still loved my family. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
So
and your
anyway,
kids couldn't replace you, and you knew
that's
that.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
My grandkids too.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was asking around of how you get off this, you know. Doctors were like, oh, it's not addictive. I was still hearing, this is not addictive.
Bullshit. You're like, what do you think these... Yeah.
And so anyway, I finally found a resource on, it was a UK site. It was one of the medical sites from the UK.
Okay.
And it talks about the step down that you needed to do to get off of it.
Okay.
And now, if it's a step down program, how does that work if it's not addictive?
Right.
You know,
that would not be necessary if it wasn't addictive.
Yeah. And so anyway, I followed that program. It was over 4 months at quarter pill a week. I mean, that's how you have to come down off of it. And then I started to feel again, and that was almost...
Was that really
because
hard?
I was still having panic attacks. I didn't, you know, after coming off it,
because it's not a cure. Yeah, it's just a temporary, while you take it, it keeps you from having panic attacks. So did they started back up again?
Well, this is when I found meditation.
Okay.
So I read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now.
Okay, I haven't read that.
And I don't even know how I got onto it. It might have been Oprah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, because I was an Oprah fan.
Me too.
And so I read his book, and the meditation part replaced the need for the anti-anxieties. I could breathe my way out of a panic attack, and then after that I also found a hormone doctor. This was perimenopause.
Oh, interesting.
That's what was bringing on the panic attacks, or so we assume, because after they leveled my hormones,
you were okay.
I didn't have the panic attacks anymore.
Interesting.
But I had found the meditation.
Yeah, so it's going to go back to that book. So say the name of the book again.
The Power of Now.
The Power of Now.
He wrote two that I mean, he's written several, but The New Earth, I think, is the other one. But The Power of Now is the one that just
is that kind of like walking you through learning how to meditate?
It talks about meditation in the sense of stillness, and that is how I learned meditation.
Yeah, like getting down into your body.
So when you think about space, how do you define space? You can't really define it unless you have objects in that space.
Right, okay.
And see, stillness is the same thing. Stillness is the absence of noise, and not just auditory noise. It's the absence of
thoughts. Okay.
And connecting, and anyway, and that's where I went. So
the first time, because I
became a hippie. That's what I did.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm really fascinated with meditation because, well, number one, because it's very hard for me. I haven't quite been able to figure out how to do it well, I guess. And I've started and stopped. And I guess maybe even at times I've questioned, like, is this even doing anything? Like, what am I doing? How is this helping me? But then when I hear people like you talk about meditation and how much it's helped them, I'm fascinated by it. And I'm like, okay, I need to learn more about this. I need to do this. I need to get it. But it's something I've never been very good at. So what would you suggest as like a starting point for somebody who wants to get into meditating, or how do you even start?
I actually did start with a guided meditation.
Okay.
And the teaching you the breathing. Okay. So it's like you have to be, that's why The Power of Now is so strong, worked so well for me.
Okay, I'm going to have to get that book.
Because it teaches you to be in the present. Totally in the present. So as you're, and I want to get rid of the stereotypes of meditation, because a lot of people think of meditation as sitting in yoga position and your hands out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which can be.
Yeah.
But that wasn't what it was for me. It was just stillness. It was just shutting the mind down.
Okay.
And stillness. And it doesn't, to me, still doesn't matter what position I'm in. I like to lay down, because my knees don't even bend like that anymore.
Yeah, sitting like cross-legged or something.
Yeah, that would cause pain. And
right. And so you like to lay down. So how do you not fall asleep?
that has happened before, but
and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, why is that a bad thing?
I don't know. I guess I kind of like beat myself up over. Okay, here's the things I beat myself up over. Like if I'm trying to meditate and I'm too tired, I'm falling asleep, or that I can't clear my mind, that no matter how hard I try, more stuff keeps coming in. So help me.
Okay, so if you are focusing on your breath, it will be impossible for anything else to come into your mind.
What?
Because you can't think about...
Yeah, okay.
And think of anything else. So if all you do for, 5 minutes is focus on breathing, and there's a chakra breath that you can do, where you actually feel the air going down your throat.
Yeah, like you kind of like almost envision what it looks like going in and filling up your lungs and then going out.
And I also release that way, because for me, release is verbal. I want to shout it out. And so you can't always shout it out. So if you send it through the chakra, the voice chakra, through the throat chakra, it feels almost like you've just screamed at the world.
Really?
If you are releasing something, then
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, and also like as you're laying there, as you're sitting there, focus on how does this feel?
Okay.
And sit in a space, I'm going to use that word because there's no other way to describe it, in a space of isness.
Ooh,
don't think this is the floor. Don't give it that I'm feeling on my legs. This just is. This is something that feels this way against my legs or against my feet, against my
you're
back.
not labeling.
Don't label anything. Isness, including yourself. I am. This is something that Eckhart Tolle will teach you.
Okay.
Is I am is the most powerful statement you can say. Don't finish it.
Oh, what?
Because so many people, I am a daughter. I am a mother. I am an addict. I am.
Yeah.
I am.
I just am.
That's all you need. I am.
Oh, wow.
What's the guy that, I'm not very good with names, but he said, I think, therefore I am. Or I think that's backward.
I am, therefore I think.
Yeah.
Huh.
You have to be a presence before you think. You're not a presence because you think.
Oh, interesting. Okay. See, these are like deep things that I have to kind of like untangle in my brain for it to make sense, because it seems like it's kind of jumbled up. And like I have to be like, okay, how does that make sense if I pull it all out?
And the meditation thing, it takes practice. It's like everything else. It takes practice. And I've described it like this. It's like when you are driving somewhere new and you have to listen to Siri the whole way to get you there. Then the next time you go there, a few turns, tell me where to stop, that kind of thing. By the third or fourth time, you could do it in your sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It becomes a subconscious.
You don't need directions anymore.
So meditation, it feels like, I don't want to say place because then people think of out-of-body experiences.
Okay.
But a space. It is a space that my being goes.
Okay.
And that's kind of the way it feels, is like now it's like, yep, I'm there, kind of.
And so how did you start out saying, okay, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes a day? Like, did you set some kind of a schedule or goal of what you were going to do?
I did. And I started out daily. Okay. And it was just like 5 minutes a day. But I have a friend who does palm. She reads the lines reading in your hand anyway. And she told me, you need to have inner voice appointments every single day. And I don't call it meditation anymore. I really don't. Okay. It's an inner voice appointment. I am meeting with myself. And when you meet with yourself, you find somebody else.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway,
so that is really what helped you get mentally healthy after you got over your addiction.
Yeah. That's and the hormone therapy. I really think I was
your hormones were out of whack.
If you get to be 40-something women and you start having anxiety attacks, get your hormones checked before you start having anxiety, because anyway.
And isn't it kind of suck that so many doctors don't know what the hell is going on? Like, I have
even OBGYNs. Yeah. They should know.
I have some trust issues with doctors. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I do too, but
I've had some, It's just like, they don't know what they're talking about. My husband's always like, why do you go to a doctor, but then you ignore everything they say? I'm like, that's just so that I can be validated that I'm right and he's wrong. That's why I go.
Sisters. We are sisters.
God, we really are. Totally. He's like, but they did go to medical school. I'm like, I don't care. That's not.
I get it. I totally get that. So, but anyway, and so during my meditation, I started identifying. I'm going to use the word presence, because I really hesitate to use the word God now, because there's so many connotations attached to it.
Right.
It's to me. And I call it source.
Okay. Okay.
So, because it's a connection. I feel the connection to something.
So it's like a higher power?
Nope. Because
Okay.
I don't think this source would ever put them higher than you.
Oh, interesting.
It's a part.
So it's like an equal or it's part of you.
Part of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that.
So anyway, so I even hesitate to use higher source, but
okay, but I get it. That makes
power,
sense.
But,
because it's a way of like putting you in your place, like you're less than.
Right, higher power. Yeah. And when like people say God, your mind automatically goes to the bearded white guy with with blue eyes. Yes. You know, Christ with blue eyes.
Yeah.
Really?
Anyway. Yeah.
He's Jewish, right?
Yeah, right. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I like that definition because I feel like God is not a person. Mm-hmm. God, for me, like I just feel like that whole idea of what Heavenly Father was in the Mormon church no longer rings true to me at all. Mm-hmm. But I'm still trying to figure out that source that you're talking about. So tell me more about that.
So anyway, that actually, when my connection, so I would leave a meditation. See, I talk of it as if it's a place. I would leave a meditation session with the feeling I can only describe as homesickness. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like connecting with love and then having to leave.
Oh, weird.
Does that make sense?
Like, not wanting to go back to the real world.
Exactly. Yeah, many times.
Like, this is so beautiful and peaceful, and now I have to go back to life.
Yes.
Yes.
And not just beautiful, but total acceptance. When you say only love, that's it. I mean, that's all that's necessary.
So when you're in that space, you are not judging yourself.
No.
Interesting.
No, just total acceptance of everything as is.
Yeah.
The isness that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Everything just is. Everything. It is what it is. It's just. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Anyway, so this connection that I was feeling during these meditative sessions, if for a lack of a better word, became a shelf item. Because I would go to church and I would hear, condemnation and this man in heaven that was our Father and supposedly love us, but was going to send us all to hell if we didn't.
Obedience.
Yes. And I'm like, that didn't
feel right.
That's not the source I feel.
Interesting.
And so, it became a problem, like in Relief Society and stuff. And I would voice my opinion. And one lady I was serving in the Relief Society with her at the time, she says, "We all know you're the resident hippie."
Oh my gosh.
It's okay. It really is. It's okay, because I'll be the resident hippie if it means I get that peace. I'll do that.
But see, that's one of the things the church teaches is that God and His power and His Spirit is outside of you.
Yes.
And that you have to be worthy of it. That you have to be obedient in order to receive it. You have to check all the boxes. And what you're saying is that you were feeling that spirit or source or whatever that piece was within your damn self, and you're like, this is not outside of me. I don't have to do this checklist in order to feel that or to be worthy of that love.
You don't need a prophet.
Oh God, right?
Because the source is within you. When Christ says that, so I've hung on to two scriptures, and one of them is "Be still and know I am God." I think it's Psalms.
Okay.
Anyway, that's one, because stillness, that's the space. Yeah. Stillness is a space. Yeah. It's actually where you can be. It's a place you can be.
Yeah.
It's not just lack of noise.
Right. Okay.
And so that one, and the power of God is within you. And that's, I think that's James.
I like that too.
Anyway, that is so true. That's literal.
Yeah.
The power of God, or the kingdom, it's the kingdom of God is within you. So see, that's, if you look at like even child development, which that's what my degree's in. But anyway, so it's a proven fact that children that learn to self-soothe become more well-adapted adults.
Okay.
So if children that are always picked up the minute they start to cry, and not that you leave them crying until they're sick or anything, you know what I mean? Right. But if they are a little bit fussy and you just let them learn to self-soothe, it's proven fact. They become more well-adjusted.
What about thumb suckers?
Well, that's a self-soothing.
That's a form of self-soothing, and I know, like my
it's
experience,
still kind of extrinsic.
Yeah. Because my daughter, who was a thumb sucker, literally from the moment she left my womb, she was sucking her thumb, and she was the easiest child. She just always self-soothed, and I always thought that was kind of an interesting concept because my other kids were all dependent on pacifiers and mom to fix their problem, and she would kind of fuss a little bit, and then she'd find her thumb and she'd be like, I'm good. And I thought that was interesting.
And so see, that right there tells me the power to calm
is right within you.
You're born with it.
You don't have to find it outside of yourself. Interesting.
And we are kind of in a society where we look to the extrinsic.
Oh, totally.
For everything. Totally. I mean, a reward for this and a trophy for that, and the likes and that you get on social media, and those are all extrinsic
the validation
rewards. The validation. And those are all extrinsic. And I think it is causing us to move outward more. Where we need to be is inward. And the church, any church, is extrinsic. You are looking for the kingdom of God in a building, in a lesson, in a something.
And you're looking for somebody else to guide you there or to tell you who you need to be, where you need to go, what you need to do, all those things, right? And the church really wants you to be dependent on that. So it's very deeply
ingrained. Not just our church. All churches.
And just from my experience, the church was always like, the Holy Ghost will be with you if, And that Holy Ghost is an outside source that you want to make you feel good. So you do all the things in order to have the Holy Ghost with you. But they never teach you that it's inside of you all along, and that if you could just get inside yourself and listen to your own knowing.
And it's the listening. Because it's there. I'm convinced anyone can find it. It's there.
But maybe a lot of people can't find it because they've been so trained otherwise.
The extrinsic. Yeah. And when Eckhart Tolle talks about the ego, the ego is actually another extrinsic way of controlling. And the ego doesn't, its survival skill is to make you need it.
Oh, interesting.
Kind of like the church.
Which is a big, giant ego.
Really? Okay, well. Wow. So anyway, extrinsic versus intrinsic is a big thing.
So at this point, you've been through a lot of shit in your life, and you are now starting to listen to your own knowing, and you're recognizing that when you go to church, you're not feeling
it.
That.
I would come home from church so frustrated. Because it was like I wanted to share what I had, but nobody could listen. People use prayer and meditation almost like they're
the same thing?
Yeah, they're the same thing, and they are not the same thing.
Because prayer, you're asking or thanking someone else outside of yourself, and meditation, you're going inside.
Not only that, but prayer is using words, and words are descriptive. Meditation is isness. It just is.
It's just existing.
The space just is. The power just is. It's not, you don't have to use words. And I'm using words to describe it. But when you're in that state, you will realize there's
no words necessary.
There's no words necessary.
Okay,
and I'm not saying prayer is a bad thing.
Yeah.
I firmly believe in collective prayer. I think there's power in many people praying for the same thing. I do. I like that. Because the collective energy. Yeah. So I'm not saying prayer is a bad thing, but I do.
But it's not the same thing as meditation.
It's not the same thing.
Okay.
And when I'd go to Relief Society and they would, just use them back and forth, flip-flop, I'm just like, no.
Interesting.
I would get so frustrated, and that just built.
And that's when they started calling you a hippie.
Yeah, that's when I become the resident hippie. Anyway, so anyway, that just became one more shelf item. Yeah. And then I was working as a family history consultant for our stake, and a lady came in with a journal entry of one of Joseph Smith's polygamous wives. And that is the first I had ever heard that he was a polygamist.
Oh, wow.
We're talking over 50 years in the church doing all of the research I was supposed to do, the guided research.
Yeah.
And I did not know he was a polygamist. And the thing is through the family history research training and stuff, I had seen that many people had sealed themselves to him, and so I just thought, it was one of those things.
The explanation is they wanted to be sealed to him, and it was like post after he had died, right? Yeah.
But this was one. Actually, I can't remember the name of the girl. She was a sister, and I believe they were orphaned, and they were taken into the Smith's home, and they were working as household girls, housemaids, and then Joseph Smith approached them both about polygamy, and they married him. And then at the time he was fighting with Emma over this whole thing, and she told him that if she could pick the wives, she would accept it. Okay. And he picked these two girls.
She picked those two girls.
Yeah, she picked these two girls. And so they did a mock wedding. Anyway, at the time,
he's like, "Oh, okay. Oh shit. Yeah. We gotta hurry and let's hurry and pretend like we're not already married." Yeah.
And at the time when I read this, because I think it was a copy of the journal. I'm pretty sure it was a copy. Yeah. But you could see it was in her handwriting, And I had seen the Bible where this girl had recorded her children's names. So, I was pretty good at comparing handwriting. I knew this was her writing. This was not something someone had, and I thought...
So that was a bombshell.
Oh, I thought I had found something that was so secret. I was like...
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was
like, guess what, everybody? And they're like, yeah, we already knew that.
I'm not kidding. I was like, how is it that my never Mormon friends knew more about my church history than I did, and I had lived in
That's by design, Right. That's the whole design of the church.
It's just like...
Because your non-Mormon friends were allowed to look at any source they wanted to.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I did some deep dive research into polygamy, and
so that really shook you to learn that.
Big time. Yeah, big time. I was so upset. Well, I finally come to the conclusion. This is how this all
What year would this have been, if you can remember?
This was 2018.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah.
About 2018.
Okay.
Anyway, and so I come to the conclusion after we're talking probably 6 months, 8 months of research, that he was a fallen prophet. That he had received the first vision, that the Book of Mormon was still true. But he fell away, kind of like David and Solomon, and and so that's where I had come to, because I couldn't be the whole church,
right? It was just him, and that maybe that's how you justified, like, oh, he was taken from the earth.
I did.
That makes perfect sense to me.
Anyway, so I made the mistake of telling my bishop
that Joseph was a fallen prophet.
Yeah. And my husband was with me, and he is known for, he calls a duck a duck.
The bishop you're talking about, or your husband. Okay, gotcha.
He's known, he's famous for that.
Yeah, and just says the truth.
Yeah, we went in there and I told the bishop what I thought. And my husband said something to the effect, well, if I want to bang 14-year-olds, all I have to do is say I'm a prophet.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so the bishop, he was screaming. I mean, he had a hold of the sides of the desk, and his face was red. His eyebrows were white. He was so mad. Nobody talks about that man like that in my presence. And
wow,
it was awful. It was just awful, because I'm one of those people.
Why did he take it so personal? That seems bizarre to me.
At the time, he brought up that he died. His last words were, "My God." To God.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, well, come to find out that's the
Masonic thing.
Yeah. Anyway, I didn't know it at the time. God. So anyway, so we finally got this meeting calmed down, promised to come back to church. We hadn't been going to church, that's why he called us in.
Oh, good. Okay.
And so and we told him we would come back to church, and he told me it cannot be both ways. He is either a prophet and the church is true. And he told me I could not be a buffet Mormon. That's why you can't select things that you don't believe in. It's all or nothing. And so I went home. I was bound and determined to prove that Joseph Smith was a prophet. I seriously had that in mind. I was like, okay, I'm going to make this work. Wow. I'm going to find out how he could do these horrible things and still be a prophet. Wow. And so I only allowed myself the approved sources. You know how that is. You know, I wouldn't go to
anti-Mormon literature.
Yeah, no anti-Mormon stuff. Right. So I stuck with church literature, and then I did give myself license to go into the academic libraries.
Okay.
And I knew how to do that because I had worked in one for 5 years when I was working for a university.
Oh, okay.
And so I did pull, I couldn't believe how many doctoral dissertations there were on church history, polygamy, post-manifesto polygamy.
Yeah.
Anyway, and oh God. They are so boring. They're just so boring.
Yeah, I was going to say, doctorate dissertations are hard to read.
They're terrible.
Yeah,
they really are. They're wordy on purpose, you know, because they have to have so many pages. And anyway, and I did do a few theses too. There's some master's theses that are pretty good. And anyway, so that, and then I swear this was my dad that dropped the gospel topic essays in my lap.
Oh.
My dad was gone by then.
Oh, your dad had passed.
My dad had passed. And I know people think that's a weird thing to say, but I know it was him.
You felt like he guided you to them. Oh, interesting. Like you didn't know they existed.
Nope.
And you found them.
Yep. I found the gospel topic essays, and it was pretty much over by then.
Yeah.
I read them, and I'm the type of person that when I read something, I check all sources. And the sources didn't line up. Some of them were flat out lies.
Yes.
And I was just like, this is not. And it just isn't. It isn't right.
No.
Things
and
aren't
it's genuinely
adding up.
like if anybody reads the sources, they would be able to recognize the lies because they take things totally out of context. Or they just completely lie.
Yeah.
And then the source says the opposite of what they said in the gospel.
The blacks and the priesthood one?
Yep.
There is one source, I think it's 9, if I remember right, and that is a lie.
An absolute lie.
Absolute lie.
And they're hoping that you won't check the sources.
Yeah.
I really think they are. Yeah, most people don't.
Yeah.
Because they're lazy learners.
Like we're lazy learners, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at that point, I seriously stepped back from my computer and said out loud, I remember hearing myself say it, my God, I am trying to defend a guilty man against the evidence. This is a recipe for insanity.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was
smacked you across the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point, it was one of those hold my beer and watch this shit, because it was research. It was a research frenzy from then on. I allowed myself anything. And then it was down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I remember at one point, the things I was finding was just upsetting me so bad. And I would be crying and and my husband was like, just stop.
Yeah.
Just
because he didn't like seeing that you were feeling pain.
And I realized there's a saying, the only way, it's from a book.
Only way out is through or something. Yeah.
And I realized I'm in the middle of this vortex.
Yeah.
And if I don't finish, I will be in this vortex forever.
Yeah.
And so I just had to say, buddy, leave me alone and let me suffer.
Yeah.
Because I had to go through.
Yeah.
And so, and when by the time I down the rabbit hole, and I remember reading, it was after COVID, so this would have been probably 2 years. Oh, I know it was 2 years because I read the CES letter.
Okay.
And when I read it, I was just like, well, that could have saved me 2 years. Do you know what I mean? Really, because it is so concisely written. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it just
breaks it all down.
Takes out all the bullshit and just gives you the facts. And I almost wish I'd found that sooner, but I probably wouldn't have trusted it if I hadn't have gone through the work,
I think that's true.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, if I hadn't read, like, Rough Stone Rolling.
Gaga Maggot.
Yeah, that's the worst book ever, right? That's like a doctorate dissertation.
Oh, yes.
It's terrible. But I, like, forced myself to read the entire thing. All the way through the book, I'm like, I hate this book. I want to stop. But then there would be, like, little nuggets that would be really interesting. But, like, I forced myself to read it. And it's a faithful source, right? And then the gospel topics essays and all this stuff. And it wasn't until, like, I knew that it was all bullshit and I had, like, essentially made the decision the church is not true. And then I read the CS letter and I was like, oh, good. That validates everything. Yeah. See, it just validates that I'm right.
That's where I was at, too. I read it after the fact. And I seriously thought, well, that could have saved me 2 years, But anyway, so coupled with COVID, which, I mean, we couldn't go anywhere. And I was especially bad because I cannot wear a mask. So I went nowhere for basically a year and a half. So I was deep in research and, and so anyway, it was just one of those things. So.
Super painful, super like earth shattering, changes everything.
Yep. So,
roller coaster ride.
Yeah. And so now they're wondering, why haven't they come back to church? We've opened things up and we haven't been back. And
has anyone reached out to you?
Yeah, there's been a few, not to me to me personally. Okay. They will to my husband, but
why do you think that is?
Because this blows me away. But when we were, I think they were just starting to open back up from COVID, and my husband went to the bishop and he said, I want you to just leave us alone, because if you back her into a corner, it's going to get ugly. Yeah. And that blew me away because I kid you not, I told you, I wouldn't even kill spiders. I hated confrontation. Yeah. And when he said that, I mean, this is the person that knows me better than anyone in the world. Yeah. And when he said that, I'm like, have I really changed that much? But it's true. Yeah. The sister missionaries came the other day, and I was kind to them, kind enough. I wouldn't let them in the house, but I was like, I wanted to find out who had sent them, because I'm going to tell them, they come again, I'll invite them in, and they'll get my PowerPoint. Yeah, no kidding. So please don't send them, because I don't want to do that to anybody's child, because they really are just children.
Yeah, they're just children. They are just doing what they've been told to do. Yeah. And bless their hearts, you feel sorry for them.
I do. I feel bad for them. But anyway.
Interesting. Yeah. And so so I'm sure after your husband tells the bishop that, he's put the word out to the ward council, don't mess with her.
And that's the thing, it's like, I've been in those positions. I know exactly what they're saying.
You know exactly.
Let's have her come do a presentation on something to get her activated, and you know what I mean? Yeah. I've done that to people.
She's needed.
Yeah. And I've done that to people. It makes me sick. Yeah. But I know that's the way I'm being discussed now. Yeah. So
I've been so glad that, because I went to the bishop when I left, and I sat down and had a conversation with him and just said, I want to be taken off all of the lists. I do not want to be a project. Do not come to my house. Do not send anyone else to my house. Do not talk to my kids. Do not, I was just very... And for the first time in my whole entire life, it was easy to set boundaries for some reason.
Was that empowering?
Oh, so empowering.
So I want to do that so bad.
I felt like I was on cloud 9 afterwards. I really was. It felt so good. Yeah. And I called my bishop by his first name.
See, and I would too.
For some reason, it felt so good. Yeah. I was just like, take me off your list. And he respected my wishes, and they have not bugged us. And I'm actually really grateful for it. In fact, I texted him like maybe 6 months after, and I just said, hey, I want you to know that I really appreciate that you respected my boundaries and my wishes, and that we haven't had anybody bothering us, and you are a good friend and you're a good person. I knew he was. I mean, he's genuine. That's the thing, is most of the people in the church are doing the best they can
at that level. Absolutely.
At that level.
And I feel so bad for him, because it's like they slough it off, the bad stuff, the excommunications and stuff like that. They slough that off to that level. It's not fair. It's not fair.
And they're victims of the system just as much as we are.
Yeah,
so,
and a lot of them need to be there. It's like I said before, it is for some people, you know, and so they might need to be there as bad as I need to be not there. Yeah. So anyway, but that's.
I love what you say about like feeling that. I guess maybe you don't call it spirit, you call it source. Whatever, inside of you. And that feels very empowering to be able to say, like, to walk away from a church that taught you that all of the feelings come from the truthfulness of that church and their God and their Holy Ghost and all that, but to walk away and you didn't have anything taken away from you.
No.
You're still you, you're still, you know, all the things without that.
And then another thing is, it's like I've talked to a lot of people that are out, and a lot of them fall into a space of atheism, which I think that is just one. If that's where they need to be, that is great.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that a lot of them land there and then come back around. Maybe there's something.
Yeah.
I never had to do that because I had found source first.
Yeah.
Before I had lost Heavenly Father. That was air quotes.
Yeah. So that's definitely different than my experience, because that's totally how I am. I'm like still in that floundering stage of thinking there's not a God, or at least for sure there's not the God that I was taught.
Yeah.
And then, but I really want there to be something. And I am recognizing that, like, my inner knowing, and that I can like trust my instincts and my gut and listen to my own self.
It takes a while to trust yourself again, though.
It totally is, because I subverted my own knowing for somebody else's my entire life. And here I am, 46 years old.
You fall for the Spirit told me this. You know, you have those spiritual experiences, which we now know what they are, you know. And there's still some that I'm like, well, that was kind of weird. I don't know how I'm going to, you know, how I can account for that one. But
how you explain certain
especially things that happened when I was doing family history research. Do you know what I mean? There's like, ooh. But then I think, okay, those people were real. Yeah. They are connected to me. Yeah. They did possess energy on this earth.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they want me to know where they were? Yeah. Or who they were? Or, you know what I mean? I have a connection to them. They're in my DNA.
Interesting. Yeah.
So that, you know, makes sense as to why I was able to find them and and
to kind of feel their presence in a way.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you describe it that way?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Because I had several experiences that were ghostly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no other way to explain it. Yeah. You know.
So interesting. Okay. So I have to get the Eckhart Tolle book. Say it again. I'm so
The Power of Now.
The Power of Now. Okay.
It's old.
Okay.
It's like, I mean, when did I read it? I read it in 2009.
Oh, okay.
So it's old. But.
So I need to read that book. I want to learn some more about meditation and just kind of exploring that side of things.
And if you have to, lose the whole meditation word.
Okay.
Don't think of it as meditation.
Yeah, because that kind of
think of it as sitting in the space of stillness. Or because meditation really does carry, you know, you see the monkey with the you know? And that's how you think of meditation. A lot of people think of meditation. So sometimes just losing the word that supposedly defines it is what would help you. But
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So
I love that. I just think I don't know. I loved meeting you and getting to know you, and
I know, it's just great.
Yeah, I feel like we should have been friends our whole lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I want to hang out with you more.
Okay.
So, and
I'm for that.
Yeah. And I have to tell our listeners, I'm really proud of her today because she showed up in a tank top.
I am showing my porn shoulders.
I love it.
And that's been
hard for you.
A long time ago.
Did you? Yeah. Is it one of the ones that you pulled out of the closet with the tags on it and you don't know if you paid for it?
Oh, God, I hope I paid for those clothes.
We forgive you if not. We do.
I know, but will Dillard's?
What they don't know won't kill them. It's fine.
Oh, it's been a long day.
Maybe that's why they went out of business.
I hope not.
I'm just teasing you.
Anyway. But,
were you able to share everything that you wanted to share? Was there any parting thoughts you had?
I did want to talk a little bit about, so on Mormon Stories podcast, there was it was been this spring. There was a girl, her name was Lizzie. Ooh. I don't remember all of everything. It was Lizzie Bean, I think.
Okay.
Anyway, she gave an analogy.
Okay.
That was absolutely beautiful.
Okay.
And she talks about sitting in a house with people that love her and everything she needs is there. I can't remember the whole thing, but I took that analogy and I wanted to experience that.
Yeah.
So I went to the Salt Cave, which is, for me, the creme de la creme of meditation places.
Okay.
It's in...
it's in like Pleasant Grove or something.
Grove,
somewhere
American Fork, someplace like that. Anyway, and I put it out there that I wanted to envision this, and
like your intention.
Yeah, my intention was to be in that space that she had described, and it was amazing.
Yeah,
it was amazing. I think mine's a little bit different than hers, but the bottom line of what she said was look up. So you're looking, so this will be my description, and hers I think will be a little bit different because anyway, but you're looking out this window, and for me it was just a window. I know she described it as being in a house.
Okay.
But for me, it was just a window.
Okay.
And the people I love were with me looking out this window, and it's beautiful, and there's trees, and it was just beautiful. And I got this look on my face and took my elbow and smashed the window. And pieces of glass just went all over, and everybody that was around me was just looking down at this glass, and they weren't mad at me. Brokenhearted, and I was looking down at the glass for a long time too, and then I looked up and realized this was just a window. It is so much bigger. The beauty, the vastness, the belonging, the love is so much bigger. And when you're
no, you're good.
When you are in the church or in anything that it was keeping me from growth.
Yeah.
And I did not realize that at the time. For the longest time after my faith crisis, I said, I wish I could just go back. I wish I could just brain vomit and get rid of all the information I have so I could just go back. And
because
now,
it was kind of like a safe container.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now, seeing the vastness and what is really out there and the connection to source that is so much more beautiful than that, what is described, and what they describe as heaven, for a woman, that is not heaven.
God.
That is not heaven. Just like my temple experience, it was just like, no, that is not heaven. But what is out there, and that you can see once you break the glass and look up, and that was her message in that podcast too. I know it was look up, I think. But anyway.
So is the window kind of the structure of what they've told you is everything there is?
Yes.
And breaking that is getting rid of it and opening up yourself to all the things.
Yes. And I think when she described it, there was an earthquake or something. I'll have to go back and listen to. But anyway.
But you shattered it with your elbow.
I did it on purpose.
Yeah. I love that.
And when I did and looked up. So my tattoo, I'm going to get a tattoo. It's going to go on my arm, and it is going to be this window with shattered glass on below it, and look up.
I love it.
Because it is so much more beautiful than, and so much more amazing.
Yeah.
That void you feel when the supposed spirit leaves you you're going to have to expand the void to let all this in.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Anyway.
Like it's bigger than the space is even there to take it in.
Yeah. But you can't,
beautiful.
For me, I could not experience this inside the church because the church for me created a duality.
Totally.
It was they're wrong, we're right.
Yeah, it's
kind
black
of thing.
and white.
And
right
if you
wrong.
are to experience source, you've got to let go of judgment. Because source does not judge. Source is. So, anyway.
Oh, I love that so much. It's so beautiful. My heart is full. Like, just listening to you and hearing your experience, and like you have just this really powerful light and energy that comes from you that just like, oh, I love you.
You're awesome.
I love you.
She makes me feel so good. Good enough to bear my shoulders.
I love it, love it, love it. Oh my gosh, I love you so much. We need to do this again.
I know.
We'll do more episodes maybe someday.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks you all. Thanks.
You can edit it. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. See you later.